Okay, I'm going to attempt to show you a bit of difference between um, all the different AI tools that I'm using to program in why they all sort of work and what makes them better. So let me give you an example of something that I tried to add on um, this weekend. So this is my HR pilot app, and you can see that it's gotten quite large. A lot of files to manage. And in order to test this on my local system, I'm going to walk you through the annoying steps that I have to go through. So I have to bring up three. So we're back. Hopefully you can see the command prompt there. Let's see here. Can't type and think. All right. So I'm starting up a three different services. Every time I need to start up in the morning developing this app, I need to start up these three services. So this first one is a web service, and so that one's running. Let's see if these should be faster. Okay, so then I need to start up my application, my HR application. So let me navigate to my directory here. And I have to run this command. That gets my application server running. Oh, I ran into an issue there. We'll come back to that in a second. Keep going here because I'm really just trying to demonstrate the steps. So now I gotta log into my client. Same thing. Okay, so now I've got all three running. This one crashed. I've got some other error. We'll see that in a second, but I have to go through that process every time. So all I wanted to do was create and I'll stop these now. Spell it right. So those are stopped. I just wanted to create a simple application in Windows that would help me start and stop those things. So this is the app that I ended up creating, and this is not complicated. This is just a few files and a few lines of code. But basically, it's a little Windows app. It has a file and it has a settings page. And in the settings page, I give it all the paths that I need to get to the various things and the commands I need to run. You saw me type those things in. So I can save those settings. Now I can start my web server, and it provides little tabs down here of the logs from those services. I'll start my application server. Now it's got another tab. See, it tries to start, and I get that same error here, which is fine. That I was modifying my code just before I started. So now I can start my client, and then I get my client log, and it has the startup log there. That is all I was trying to do. I mean, I could have done this with a little batch script or a number of other things to make this easier. And I won't get into that. I'm just trying to demonstrate this. So, okay, so that's what I wanted to do. So I first went to ChatGPT 4.0 and I said, I want to create a simple GUI window application using VS Code with .NET Forms to manage control of starting, reloading, stopping of this web server, my application server, and my client. The features would be a main screen would have a control panel and the start and stop buttons, which you saw. It would have tab views, the server and the client output logs that are also saved to files, which the application you just saw was. Then I need a settings page for all of the paths and commands and so forth. And then I'm saying, please provide all the VS Code based files. Okay, so how did ChatGPT 4 do? Well, first of all, it recognized that you can create the project files, or a lot of the project files that aren't specific to the application with this command, which is nice. So it did that, and I'll show you. Um, these all these files over here, these are sort of like your project base files. So it created all those, and then it also created the main form, which is this one, and the form designer, and that's it for ChatGPT 4.0. So it created the structure. It told me what the structure is going to look like. It created the main form and the form designer. What it did for the settings, though, is it didn't give me a settings page. It gave me a file that I could edit in a config. So does it sort of do the same thing? A little bit, but it doesn't have the correct commands here. And what I asked for was a form where I could set the settings, not that I had to go into a file and update those things. So, um, the main criticism I have with ChatGPT 4 is the code that it did provide was full of errors. You could not compile it. It just did not understand how to fully set this up. It was missing things. Okay, so how did we do with um, Pro version? So same prompt in the beginning. I won't go back over that. This approach did not tell me to do that little shortcut that 4.0 did with the command to get most of the stuff done. It did describe everything I needed, and all of the stuff that the 4.0 provided in that little shortcut. It gave me all the files. You can see it has all those sort of project files, and it gave me the correct code for those. But I had to go create the file, cut and paste this in here. There's no interaction. So there's no way with 100 files I'd be able to go back and forth with this. So yes, did it give me all the files? The other thing it did interestingly, even it came up with the same file names as 4.0, main form designer and so forth. Gave me a lot of code. You can see there's a lot more code here. So it was much closer at a functioning application than 4.0 by far. I mean, it had a lot of the things that you need in here. So it had the main form and the form logic. And then the other thing it had is the settings form. So if we go into here, you can see it actually had the settings form and logic for that other page that had the path. So it totally understood that side of it. And you can see how much more code it did provide to get those two things done. Then it went into giving me a little instructions on how to build it. Well, this is what essentially code right out of Pro version before I started messing with it. And the red is not good. So anywhere the pages that have the red, the compiler has already detected errors before I even start doing anything. So you can see this little squiggly red, that's an error. Error, 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 error. And really, I can recognize that there's a lot of assumptions for extensions and things that I don't have installed, and I can get these things relatively quickly fixed. But the other thing is just a lot of mistakes. I mean, trying to do things twice in two files, and I won't get into too much detail here. But here's the big missing thing. So this is a small app. It's basically, this stuff, forget about this stuff because that's just basic to the project. It's basically what is that? 8, 9 or so pages of code. Some of them pretty small, right? But the main form, main design, settings, and settings design, so 4 real pages of code. Well, I've got errors in these things now. So what am I supposed to do? Because what I didn't realize before I got Pro is this. If I wanted to put the files back in there to say, hey, this file has an error, I can't because these are my file choices. I don't really understand what they were even thinking in this option that I need an agent to do stuff. I can't even put texts or documents in here. So if I want to edit a large we're doing a proposal or something, and I wanted to, go have the agents crawl and help me with the doc. Can't be done. So I would have to do one of the approaches where I tell it to take control of my desktop and connect to Google and what have you. So what's missing here is the back and forth because when you get to a project this big, your AI has to pull up 5 or 6 different files at a time to understand how they relate to give you the proper solution. I mean, that's the bottom line. So here's Cursor. This is what's managing my HR app. When I need to work on a component or a set of components, I can simply go in here and add all of the files in context. You see how it's opening the files? It's sort of like a dynamic project in ChatGPT. So I can add those things, then I can ask it questions, and you can see sort of my interaction here as I'm going along. I'm asking it questions. It's going in here and it's editing the code directly into my project. That's really the only way to do this effectively is to have an AI companion that's built in. I will say, oh shoot, I should have shared this too just to give you a sense. I opened up the one that Cursor created. By the way, the process manager application that Cursor created only had one error. So I opened it up and then I opened up Copilot to see if Copilot could fix the error, which is described up here. And Copilot is sort of it would be my second choice from Cursor. It does have access to all your files, and then you can ask it questions. And in this case, it correctly determined the error, gave me the new code. What's annoying is I have to cut and paste it from sort of the chat over here. It doesn't edit it directly in my file system, so that's kind of a downer. But it does have that sort of embedded. So I use Copilot to correct the cursor error. Now I've got an application in, you know, half a day of messing around, mostly just trying to see what I could get out of Pro. But hopefully you got something out of that. But it's basically the summary is Pro was much better at conceptualizing a bigger idea, but still had errors in its coding. And then the bigger gap is you have to go back and forth, pasting things back and forth for it to understand where you're at, and it doesn't have a sense of the whole project scope, which is absolutely necessary for programming. Now, could you use it for other things? Yeah, I mean, the horsepower in Pro is pretty impressive. So, anyways, I don't know if that helps at all, but I wanted to share.